From The National, this is Trending Middle East. I'm Yasmin Al-Taji. It's Wednesday, May 28th. Here are today's headlines. The US-Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation said it started distributing aid in Gaza after nearly 3 months of a total blockade by Israel. It's a controversial organization, and it said its new, quote, distribution hubs opened on Monday. It said 170 lorries with food, medicine, and medical supplies crossed into the Gaza Strip. But The National's AlTaher reports it didn't specify who received it or how those recipients were chosen.
The UN and other NGOs have said that because of the way that it's structured, the humanitarian hubs, so to speak, that are going to be set up, force people to become displaced as they try to get closer to these hubs. It forces them to traverse dangerous roads and paths in order to get this aid. And it also limits who gets the aid.
The foundation was reportedly created to prevent aid from falling into the hands of Hamas. But aid groups have condemned the foundation's plans, which they say violate international humanitarian principles. The head of the foundation, Jake Wood, resigned on Sunday, just a day before the aid rolled out. In a statement, he said it had become clear the plan could not be carried out while, quote, strictly adhering to international humanitarian principles. The UN estimates Gaza requires at least 600 lorries of aid per day. As of Tuesday evening, the organization had not responded to the National's requests for more details about its operations. Meanwhile, negotiations in Cairo and Doha for a ceasefire in Gaza are not leading to a deal yet. That's according to sources who spoke to The National on Tuesday. Hamas is rejecting Israel's demand that it surrenders its weapons. All of this comes after previous reports that the U.S. and Israel rejected an offer Hamas had agreed to this week. The U.S. denied that claim. The National's Hamza Hendawi reports from Cairo.
Hamas insists on negotiations that begin once a temporary ceasefire is in place, on a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza and a permanent ceasefire. These are two core conditions set by the militant group that Israel has consistently rejected.
The negotiations resumed simultaneously on Monday in Cairo and Doha. Mediators from Egypt, the U.S., and Qatar presented a slightly amended version of a previous proposal for a 70-day truce and the release of 10 hostages.
The latest plan that's on the negotiating table at the moment is a truce of 70 days and the release of 10 hostages, 5 when the truce takes effect and 5 towards the end of the truce. The plan also provides for the resumption of substantial humanitarian aid into Gaza, the release of Palestinian prisoners held in Israel in return for the hostages. Hamas has been considerably weakened by the 19-month-old war in Gaza, and perhaps this is the reason why it has shown a great deal of flexibility. Hamas, for example, has accepted not to be part of a post-war Gaza government. It has also accepted not to have anything to do with the reconstruction of Gaza.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledged to bring back all hostages, quote, living and dead, unquote, as protests mount in Israel, calling for an end to the war and the return of the remaining hostages. Iraq's oil ministry has filed a lawsuit against the semi-autonomous Kurdish region. It says it signed energy deals with foreign companies without the consent of Baghdad. That's according to an official speaking to The National. Last week, Kurdistan's Ministry of Natural Resources unilaterally signed 2 energy deals with U.S. companies to develop natural gas resources. The combined estimated value for the agreements is, quote, tens of billions of U.S. dollars, unquote. That's according to a statement from the Kurdistan regional government. Here's The National's Sinan Mahmoud with more.
Tensions have escalated between the federal government in Baghdad and the authorities in the Kurdistan region since last week, following the Kurds' decision to sign 2 energy deals with U.S. companies. That move has angered the federal oil ministry in Baghdad, saying that such unilateral actions violate the Iraqi constitution and law, and that such deals should go through the federal oil ministry.
The Iraqi oil ministry said the move was a violation and that, quote, oil wealth belongs to all Iraqi citizens and any investment decisions should be made through the federal government, unquote. The control over the development of natural resources has been a key issue since the 2003 US-led invasion that toppled Saddam Hussein and helped the Kurds gain official semi-autonomy. The KRI argues that the country's constitution allows them to sign deals bypassing Baghdad, while the federal authorities in Iraq maintain that this is illegal.
The Iraqi constitution actually doesn't address this issue clearly, and instead it puts it in a gray area. Therefore, the Kurds say the constitution gives them the right to sign agreements without consulting Baghdad, while Baghdad maintains that oil wealth is a national resource and that any related agreements should involve the federal government. There were attempts to approve a federal law to regulate the oil and gas sector nationwide, but both Baghdad and Erbil failed to agree on many issues, mainly on the categories of gas and oil fields that should be run by Baghdad or the region. Also, who has the rights to negotiate and sign deals with oil companies, and who has the final say in approving these deals.
In early 2022, the Kurdish region's oil sector suffered a major blow, and the federal Supreme Court ruled that the regional law regulating the industry was unconstitutional and demanded it hand over all oil sector activities to Baghdad, including exports. That's all for this morning's headlines. You can get these stories and follow our live coverage at our site. Yasmin Al-Taji, The National.